let's look at Jesus himself and see how he acted. There's a number of famous verses about Jesus and how he related to children and acted toward them. So here's an interesting one, Matthew 18. At that time, the disciples came to Jesus and asked, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven?" Okay, these young men, they were trying to prove themselves. They were all eager to go and build the kingdom of God, which they thought was going to be this political kingdom. And so they were always asking this question, right? They're coming up to Jesus and going, "Hey, Jesus, so like who's the best? Come on, there's 12 of us here, but who's really the best? Who's your right-hand man, Jesus?" And Jesus says, "None of you." Okay, so Jesus called a little child to him. He responds to this, "Come on, who's the best? It's me, right?" And he goes and gets a little child from the crowd and puts the child in the middle of his disciples and looks them in the eye. He said, "I'm telling you the truth, guys. Unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven." You can see a number of things here, right? Therefore, whoever takes the lowest position, the lowly position of this child, is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. So here he's using the child as a metaphor, but he is also showing us that he literally values children. He grabs an actual child from the crowd. Jesus, there's a number of stories like this where Jesus, who is extremely busy, how many people were trying to get Jesus' attention as he traveled around? How many people? Thousands and thousands. I mean, one of the stories is there were so many people trying to get his attention, they had to put him in a boat so he could teach, so that he wouldn't be overwhelmed and crushed by the crowds of people trying to get his attention. These kinds of people, usually, who are that famous, that well-known, that sought after, usually don't have time for little kids. Not so with Jesus. Jesus, in fact, regularly took time out to pay attention to children and even use them in his ministry in some ways. And he says, "Whoever welcomes such a child, a small child, in my name, welcomes me."